So today we're going to be talking about the full moon Aquarius, which is happening on the night of July 23rd, 2021. So what's special about this full moon in Aquarius is that it is one of two Aquarius full moons. So in typical language, they call two moons in 1 month, they call that as a blue moon. But in this case, one is happening in July and one is happening in August. So it's not really a blue moon, but in the traditional sense, but it is a blue moon in the sense that there's two moons happening in the same sign, which is, it's rare. It's the astrological, I can barely say that word, astrological version of a blue moon. So this one is happening at 1 degrees Aquarius. The second one, which happens August 22nd, is happening at the final degree Aquarius. So we're seeing this progression. We're seeing the beginning of a rebellious emotional stage, and then the second new moon is going to show us the accumulation or the final expression or the final impact. So this moon coming up on July 23rd is about rebellious self-expression, because Lilith features very strongly in this upcoming new moon. It is in a direct, exact trine with the moon because it's at 0 degrees Gemini, so it's within 1 degree of the moon, and it's also sextile to the sun. So yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this podcast. So next up, let's talk about the difference between this moon and the cumulative or final moon, which is going to be in August. And I meant the final degree moon, the one that's at the end of Aquarius. So this one will be more about self-expression, and the second one is more likely to illuminate the beliefs of the collective, because it's going to be conjunct to Jupiter, which is retrograde, and Jupiter will be entering into Aquarius pretty soon after this July full moon. But in August, on that second full moon, the moon is going to be conjunct Jupiter retrograde. So a lot of people's belief will come into question as a result of this emotional need for freedom, or this emotional driven self-expression that's going to happen with the trine to Lilith in Gemini. And this will be a theme all throughout the month between July 23rd and then August 22nd. People will be rebelliously expressing their feelings about things and their own common sense and their own opinions. So regarding this full moon, which is the topic of this video, and it's what we're going to stick on for the rest of this video, the moon is conjunct Capricorn Pluto. And Pluto in Capricorn is about the controlling or invasive measures of authorities. And this has been a theme, especially of 2020 and 2021, as Pluto reaches the final degrees, the cumulative degree of Capricorn. Right now it is retrograde, so we've seen the reversal of invasive laws, mandates, measures. All those things have been typically reversed or taken more lightly as of recent, especially as Pluto has went retrograde before the summer started. And so anyways, with the moon conjunct to Pluto, the moon usually indicates our emotions. So since this full moon will be conjunct to the planet of power, control, and I guess manipulation even, what we will be feeling during this next month is the feeling of being invaded or manipulated or controlled by what? In this case, by Capricorn. The themes of Capricorn, which is governments, structures, authority, the status quo, the way things are, the way things function in society, the things that we can't escape. It's the hierarchy, it's the way things are set up. So during this time, we will be feeling that control, and we will be feeling the invasive measures, and we'll be feeling manipulative measures. In addition, a lot of secrets will be exposed during this time because Pluto is secrets. It's hidden motives. So a lot of these measures and these restrictions and these powerful control mechanisms that have been instituted actually contain hidden motive and hidden influence. And they have a materialistic objective behind them, and they have the objective of another motive than what is presented on the front, on the face of what it looks like. A lot of it is driven or is I can't think of the damn word. It's driven by capitalism and capitalists and the powerful people of society. They want or they benefit from these kinds of measures, not the common people. And it's people with positions of power that are manipulating these rules. And they control the structure of society. So they are secretly creating a new structure. And I talk about that on my Patreon and on different videos on a different channel called Sari the Lover. So check that out if you are interested in those kind of topics. But essentially, a lot of secrets or motives will be exposed because we have the fully illuminated moon conjunct Pluto. And these will be exposed whether through the actions of the authorities or the government or the expression of them, how they talk or what they're saying, the messages they put out. And it will be unintentional. Or it will also be exposed secrets through conspiracy investigators. So yeah, a lot of hidden agendas and stuff. A lot of information, stuff like that. So the moon in Aquarius indicates an emotional need for freedom or self-reliance. And yeah, so as we are feeling controlled, the moon also feels this need to break free from Capricorn, from the structure. And so ultimately, that is what will be fueling Lilith, which is a trine to the moon. Lilith is about how we rebel and how we go our own way. It's like the feminine version of Uranus, because Uranus is like the masculine rebel. Lilith is more of like the feminine version of a rebel. She's kind of like the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio does things behind your back. And that's how Lilith operates. She rebels, but she rebels behind your back, and she strikes in secret. And she likes doing the wrong thing in the eyes of others. And also her rebellion is more emotionally driven. And given that the moon is the planet that's in trine, this is very powerfully pushing Lilith. The planet of Uranus. The planet Uranus is more of a logically driven rebellion. Uranus rebels when things don't make sense. And when there is a desire to just be a authority over themselves. Lilith rebels for emotional reasons. And she rebels behind your back. It's like a feminine type version of rebellion. In this case, it's in the sign of Gemini, so people will be communicating their rebellious thoughts, communicating their emotional values, and expressing this desire for self-reliance and freedom through ideas, logic, and common sense, because that is the sign of Gemini. Now, let's talk about Venus and Mars. And also, we're going to talk about Jupiter, which is opposing them. Jupiter is retrograde during this time. And when Jupiter is retrograde, this is about the questioning of assumptions or the questioning of beliefs. So Jupiter has been retrograde since, I believe, the last day of May, or it may have been earlier in June sometime. But it was fairly recently. I believe it was in May that it went retrograde, though. Could be wrong. And ever since this time, there's a tendency for people now to be rethinking their beliefs and rethinking their assumptions. And Jupiter went retrograde in the sign of Pisces, which is about perception, it's unconscious things that we assume, and it's traditionally ruled by Jupiter. So when Jupiter retrograde happened, this indicated the questioning of assumptions, especially things that were presented to us through forms of media, because Pisces rules motion pictures, it rules video, it rules fabrications, it rules our imagination, and it rules government communications as well, because it's the third house from Capricorn. The third house shows communication, so Pisces is communications of the government. And this is things like mainstream media, just things that we see on video, like presented to us on news stories, in very edited and calculated ways. It's not reality. It's actually a presentation. It's modern day propaganda, basically, because media was invented as a form of propaganda in the 1900s. It started as radio. It was a way to get government messages. There was only a few channels, and it was to hear government messages. And it was a way to communicate what to think in order to better control the population. And it was ability to communicate messages to the population and have them listen. And so the thing is, that was the very honest, true meaning of what mainstream media is, because it was new. Like, there was no reason to cover things up. But as things have progressed, we've started to lose the sense of what media really is, especially government-backed media or very quote-unquote credible media. And it's probably because they believed that when people don't know the motive or the reason behind the thing, it's actually more effective. And that's what Pisces is. The more unconscious something is, the more you can manipulate and program Pisces. The more you can create victims or create puppets or people that you can manipulate. So the government slowly made this thing seem more organic, more related to us, more like it's for ourselves. But anyways, with Jupiter retrograde in this sign, there will be a questioning of beliefs about things that came from the media or anything that was created from some sort of imagination that we had about the world, or some unconscious assumptions that we made based on things that we've seen, and usually assumptions that didn't necessarily get backed by evidence, things that just influenced how we thought things are. And it's at 0 degrees Pisces at the time of this full moon. So this is like the final degree, because it's about to break back into Aquarius, and it will continue retrograding through Aquarius towards around like 21 degrees or so, I believe. And what's interesting about this is that at the time of this full moon, like, people will be questioning almost every assumption they made from a point of imagination. And as Jupiter continues and breaks into the Aquarius, now people will start to question their logical assumptions even. So first it will be the things they perceived, and then it will break to the point that People will be questioning things that they thought logically made sense. And that's what that means. And then this second full moon in August in Aquarius will be conjuncting Jupiter in Aquarius. And so this will be illuminating the fact that people at that time will have a clear view, because that's the full moon, of things that they questioned, you know? So people will be recreating new logical convictions, new logical beliefs, because that's what Jupiter in Aquarius is going to be about when it retrogrades into that. And then it goes back direct. So Jupiter retrograde is opposite to Venus and Mars that are on the Leo-Virgo cusp. Mars is in Leo and Venus is in Virgo, and they're conjunct. And this cusp of Virgo, or the sign of Virgo, is about what's real. It's about details. It's about receipts. It's about facts. It's about what's tangible. And of course, it opposes the sign of Pisces, which is about imagination, faith, assumptions, things like that. And what Venus is about is what we are receptive to. It's the feminine quality. Mars is what we are focused on, or the lens that we see the world through as well, because it rules the first house, which is our lens, our view of things. And so since Mars and Venus are basically entering the sign of realism and materialism, what we will be valuing and what we are receptive to and what we're focused on is receipts, evidence, and reality, like what's real. And this is opposing Jupiter in Pisces, indicating that our belief in media will not be in accordance to how we are actually focused at this time. We're focused more on receipts and evidence. We're more receptive to what's real. We want to see facts. We want to see things. We want to confirm things. We want to investigate. We want to see all the details. That's what Mars and Venus in Virgo is about. Mars is technically in late Leo, but it's at that cusp, and it's conjunct Venus in Virgo. And then Jupiter retrograde, of course, is us no longer believing assumptions or things like government communications or motion picture, like things that's shown on TV, things like that. Even if it's from other people that are not quote unquote credible, even, or like normal people, we probably won't be as receptive to that. We'll be more receptive to science, things like that, and to evidence. And so this opposition is showing this contradiction, this contradiction between belief and what we are perceiving. So, yeah. Next, we have Mercury in Cancer, and it's trailing behind the sun. And Mercury in Cancer is about thinking about our feelings and thinking about our emotions. And in this case, our emotions, our feelings are in the sign of Aquarius, because the moon rules Cancer. And of course, we talked about how what we'll be feeling during this time is we will be feeling control. We will be feeling invasive measures. We will be feeling manipulated in some way. And so Mercury's indicated that during this time, we will be thinking about this or expressing or communicating about this kind of stuff, because it's in the sign of the moon. Also, we will be communicating about what truly matters, because that's what Cancer is. It's what matters to us. And since it's getting ready to conjunct the sun, it's very close. It's a 10-degree conjunction, really. There's an expression of these ideas. And yeah. So something else is that Neptune retrograde in Pisces is trine to Mercury in Cancer. So Neptune rules Pisces, and Pisces is again about assumptions, imagination, the collective perception, the collective consciousness. It's just the level that people are perceiving. It's the level that the collective perceives things. It's their imagination of things. And right now it's retrograde along with Jupiter. So Jupiter is about beliefs, and when it's retrograde, this means no longer believing. And no longer believing what? Pisces, because it's in Pisces. Pisces is about media, assumptions, imagination, things like that. So that's that. Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces, is about assumptions. It's about victimhood. So Neptune retrograde is about no longer assuming or questioning assumptions. Or it can be also about no longer being a victim and thinking about our perception of things. And since Neptune retrograde is sextiling Mercury, this indicates that the reversal of deception or the reversal of our assumptions is fueling our communication or our ideas and also our emotional introspection. So there's a clear understanding between Mercury and Neptune retrograde. So yeah, and the fact that we are questioning our assumptions is fueling Mercury further to find the truth of how we're feeling and what matters and what's real, And then finally, we have Pluto retrograde sextile to Neptune retrograde. So what's causing us to question our assumptions is the fact that a lot of authoritarian measures or control methods, all those things have been being exposed to a certain extent and have been basically creating a understanding of the deception that we're under. Because sextile is about ideas, intellect, and mental processes. And so the sextile between Pluto is about control methods, creating new ideas in our minds about assumptions that we've made. And in this case, Pluto is retrograde. So especially the reversal of powerful laws or of mandates and control measures have been making people question the illusion that they were under. That really sums up what that placement, that aspect between Pluto and Neptune is about. So next we'll talk about Lilith. And Lilith is at 0 degrees Gemini. So Gemini is the 8th sign from Scorpio, and why that's important is because it is the sign of the revelation of secrets. It's 8th from 8th. 8th is about secrets, and it's also about death, transformation, and endings. So the 8th from the 8th sign is about the death, transformation, or ending of secrets. And when Lilith is here, it's about rebellious expression, creating the ending of secrets, or exposing a lot of information. Gemini is very curious and is very gossipy. And so people will be rebelling through gossip or through trash talk about different controlled shit, like control measures and government stuff, Especially because they're going to be feeling controlled a lot of times in their lives with this full moon happening in Aquarius, being in a complete trine with Lilith. So collective rebellion is going to be expressed verbally through various ways. That's what the trine means. And so this is an important transit because Lilith being at 0 degrees Gemini means this is a whole new process for Lilith. It's a whole new chapter. There's going to be a lot of expression, and 0 degrees is a powerful degree, and it's happening on the night of this full moon. And for the previous 9 months, Lilith was in Taurus. And Lilith shows rebellion, like I said at the beginning. And when it was in Taurus, since October of 2020, how people were rebelling is by isolating themselves from people and circumstances that they didn't like. And like that's how people were rebelling. They were basically bubbling themselves off. So like if you didn't like society, basically you would the Lilith in Taurus meaning would mean that you would like bubble yourself off or go do your own thing, and you would like isolate yourself personally from people that you didn't like. And that's kind of how a lot of people were trying to rebel. But now that it's entered Gemini, people will be rebelling in a more expressive way or a verbal way. So that's going to be interesting. People will be expressing their opinions, speaking up for themselves, or at least amongst each other about, ideas and especially their feelings about things, because Mercury is in Cancer, the sign of our feelings and what matters to us. And the moon, of course, is in a conjunction of Pluto. So feeling controlled, feeling negative, feeling manipulated. It is an exact trine to the moon in Aquarius. So Lilith is being fueled by our emotions during this time. And Lilith in Gemini is conjunct to the North Node, and they are approaching each other. So blunt and raw communication brings us further along on our destiny during this time. Like being honest and speaking our minds, even if it's the wrong thing to do on the societal conception and how people have been indoctrinated. Even though it seems wrong on that case, it's still the right thing to do on a honest level, on a real level. That's what the conjunction with the North Node is. It's what's very real and what's gonna be successful, and what matters. It's also what's gonna stand out is people speaking their true mind and their true feelings. And also there'll be a lot of evidence along with people's ideas. And a lot of people will be starting new careers because there's going to be probably trends of people saying their opinions and saying their mind. Because the North Node can show trends as well, because it's what is the destiny of people, and it's also like what stands out. And so a lot of people could be making careers out of saying the quote unquote wrong things. What has been accepted or indoctrinated as wrong, but what feels right and what needs to be said. And a lot of stuff that can get you like censored and all that kind of stuff. But like people will be making more careers out of that during this next month, and actually probably during the rest of this conjunction between North Node and Lilith in Gemini. So until the end of this year, really, this will feature strongly. So anyways, that is the full moon in Aquarius coming up on July 23rd. Hopefully that was interesting or insightful in some way. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Or, maybe I'll be posting this to Patreon. So I don't know if this will go on YouTube. But, other than that, I appreciate you guys listening. And I will see you guys sometime soon in the future. Peace.